So usually when you kind of think through growth, you're like, okay, you're either gonna help us think through traffic, how we're gonna acquire traffic or how we're gonna convert traffic. And that's traditionally been kind of the two key pillars that we look at. In today's world, you're starting to think of also success. So it's not just converting the traffic, but how to make sure they're successful. So these are the kind of the three areas that you want to focus on when you think through how do we grow our business. It's usually going to come from one of these areas when it comes to marketing. And Hubspot kind of does it on a flywheel effect, that as you better attract, better engage, and better delight. So attract with the traffic, engage with the conversion, and delight with the success. As you better do all these things, you kind of get this flywheel effect, and are able to accelerate your growth. So when we look at conversion, traditionally we've been thinking through, okay, well, how can we better convert our landing pages? What types of ebooks and white papers can we create? And this has kind of been the traditional way we look at conversion. And nowadays, a lot of companies are starting to look at some more personalized and interactive tools that can help improve conversion and can help educate your audience. And these tools can also be used within customer success. So customer success is not just about an email for renewal and NPS score, right, which is useful, but that's not sufficient. So you can add more tools. I'm going to go into more detail about what that means and how that applies. But these tools can also help incentivize and encourage the types of behaviors you want your customers to have. You can kind of analyze what are my successful customers doing to help inform what types of behaviors you're encouraging. Okay, so the key thing around why these interactive tools are useful and how you can use them is it comes into the premise that usually if you're in a conversation, if it's a one-directional conversation, you're not letting the other person kind of come in, you end up being kind of like this girl where you're kind of out of it, you don't feel that you are being heard, and you don't feel like the actual content or information is personalized for you. So that's the advantage of interactive tools, that you're personalizing information. Okay, so let's go into some examples so you guys can get some more context. So obviously Amazon, everyone's heard this 1,000 times. They personalize what you see based on what you bought before. They can say this comes with this goes with that. So that's something you guys have seen many times. Okay, Hubspot, has anyone done the Hubspot marketing grader? This they launched, I mean, this was a while ago, but they launched, I want to say around 08, 09 or something. And it was a marketing grader that you put in your website, and it would go through and audit your SEO. So it went through specifically your on-page SEO, and it went through a few other things around the website and some of your social media, and gave you recommendations saying, by the way, this image has no alt tag. You should adjust your meta description on this specific page. Your social media, you can probably revamp your Facebook or whatever. And so it was very specific to your business, and this was their #1 lead channel. Because what was happening is you get a grade, and a lot of marketers would see this grade and then send it to the respective teams, and they're like, hey, how can we go from a 41 to an 80? What do we need to do to improve our on-page SEO? And so this is much more useful than just a blog post, right? A blog post is helpful, but it's just talking in generics. This is talking very specifically your website, your blog, what's the situation, what can you do better? And that became such a huge actual lead channel for them that they created a whole team around creating tools like these to help their customers, and then over time, their tool will help fill in some of these gaps. So it's also a good way to acquire top of the funnel, generate demand. Okay, Ikea built a tool that helps you virtually place furniture in your home. So a lot of times when you're buying things online, you don't know how it fits, you don't know the dimensions, and so this kind of iPad app helps you augment your furniture using AR into your home, and you kind of see the fit and how it looks. So this is another example of a tool that's useful and relevant. Nike has been doing this now for 10 years, actually. They kind of created a key focus of their business was to build these digital applications that they give for free to all customers, not just Nike customers, to all people. And they created tools around things their people usually do, things their audience usually do, which is running, competing, setting goals, building a community to kind of say, okay, let's set a target that we're going to do every week, and we can kind of, your peer group can encourage you and track what you've done. And so they created these apps where you can kind of see, okay, did I hit my 10K for whatever the week? Did I do, whatever it might be? And so you can kind of see your competition, you can see what other people are doing. And the point is that Nike is not just saying, oh, we're focusing on this purchase point. They're also looking at everything that happens post-purchase, right? Which is after you get the shoes, you're running with them, you're kind of competing, whatever you might do, running training. And so all these things are incorporated in Nike's application. So it's very different from the traditional, sales point only focus, which they're looking at the whole funnel. This is a cool example. So basically, also this, when people are building mobile applications, a common question is how much does it cost? And how do I know how the price varies by geography of talent and by feature set? So those are questions you get so often if you're a mobile app development team. And so what we built here was an application that helps people think through, tell us the features that you want. And so you kind of answer a set of 10 questions, giving an overview, these are the features that you want. And then it shows you how the price varies by geography and by feature, and you get an estimate. And what's really cool about this is that, traditionally speaking, it was basically very, very difficult to get an estimate, right? You would read blog posts, so they give you generic information, you get on calls, and then you have to wait weeks until you get an estimate. And now you can kind of say, based on my budget, I know I need to move to this geography, I need to move these 2 features. You get that information within seconds from submission, and as a salesperson getting this data, you're now able to see that this is much more qualified than a traditional lead, right? Because the marketing team is not just telling you, hey, this is an email someone said he wants to build an app. The marketing team is telling sales, hey, this is an email and the name, and this is what the person wants to build, and these are the features they want. And they've said that if they move to this geography and remove these 2 features, they're within budget. So this is a much higher quality lead that marketing has generated for sales, and the sales call is much easier because you've already kind of gone through and qualified a lot of the variables. So that's the cool thing about it. You're not only helping the customer, giving them personal information, you're also helping, you have a sales team where you're helping generate much more qualified leads. So you're basically engaging with the customer, not just selling to them, you're helping them. And through helping them, you're helping generate demand for your product and educating them where their gaps are and how they can help. So a common question is, well, how do we build these marketing products? And traditionally speaking, most of the time we either hire an outsourced team or you build it in-house, and those are the main 2 options you have. Nowadays, there's SaaS tools, so like Outgrow, I'm biased because I'm part of the Outgrow team. But the advantage of the SaaS tool is that marketers can build it on their own, and it's much faster and easier to build and experiment with than with a tech team, because that takes a lot longer and requires more design and tech work. However, if you do have that capability and want to do in-house or outsource, you can do that as well. So you kind of have 3 options for how to build these applications. The second part is not just how to build it, but how do you come up with ideas? Like how do you know which one actually works? And how do you know what ideas are relevant for the specific goals that you're targeting for this quarter or for this year? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be asking people from the audience to kind of mention a bit about their business and their industry, and I'll try to help them up with ideas based on what we've seen work and see if those might be relevant to you. But a couple of key things that I like to think through when I come up with ideas is, what are the common questions your sales team get or your support team get? And if the answer is it depends, then it's a really good example for a tool, right? If the answer is obvious, like everyone pays $10 per user, then it's a simple answer. You don't really need a tool for that. But if it's an answer it depends, there's many variables, there's many moving parts, then it might be a good tool that you can create to help customers. There's a lot of other areas, like if you have certain behaviors that you want these customers have and want to incentivize that, you can give rewards or points for people who do those things. And then you can also do things around things that are controversial or things that are commonly shared, and so that can help. So a lot of times, like accountants will do things around new tax policy coming up. A lot of people are talking about it. They can say, okay, well, how will this new tax policy impact your tax bill? And then that's much more personalized than saying, on average, this is going to increase tax rates by 2%, but there's all these other deductions that we don't know how it impacts you. Here you can create a tool that helps if that's something that's going to kind of time, based on the timing and the current climate, if it's something relevant. So you can talk about that as well. Okay, you can also email us and ask questions at Outgrow, and we can give you ideas if you're interested in ideas for your business. I'm also going to be trying to handle as many as I can with the time I have allotted to kind of go through for whoever's comfortable sharing their business or their industry, what ideas I've seen work for that industry or what ideas I would recommend. So this is kind of the point where I'm going to try to ask people in the audience to share. I think there are a couple people with the mics. So is anyone comfortable saying kind of what their business or what industry they're in, or just a couple things about them, and then I'll try to do my best to guide you through what we've seen work in terms of examples, tools, or certain ideas that can help. All right.
It's on? All right, yeah. I work for an insurance company.
Okay.
Home, auto, life, that kind of thing.
Okay. And so you're selling it's across the country, or is it
Just Texas.
Okay, cool. And the insurance, you focus on home, auto, and what's the third one?
Life.
Okay, cool. So they're kind of insurance is a really cool use case because the types of tools you can build are quite clear and quite useful. So the common thing for home insurance might be around estimate your how much you save on your home insurance policy, so that would be a common one people will start with, which is you can say, okay, this is how much I'm currently paying, this is what I'm currently working with, and then you answer a certain set of questions around what features your policy already has. And you can show, okay, well, if you move to this home insurance policy, your current plan expires in 8 months. You can do the transition and you'll save $300 with that tool. So you can kind of do a tool like that. That's kind of the bottom of the funnel one. That's very popular, especially in insurance. Another common one in insurance is the kind of educational content. So a lot of times people don't know the nuances around their flood insurance or their hurricane insurance or their specific aspects of what coverage they get in the event of the damage. Like, is it replacement cost, or is it based on the original cost of development? Or there's so many different moving parts. And so the more you can do to educate people on that, the better. So a lot of times you'll see in insurance, people create kind of like these knowledge assessments or knowledge assessments. They go, see how much you really know about your insurance policy. And that kind of gets them to go back into their insurance policy, see what they're actually getting coverage on. Say, okay, well, you're actually only getting 60% coverage on this, and if you can move that up to 80% with us, you'll get a comparable rate or something like that. And so that would be good. These knowledge assessments are useful for more top of the funnel, just getting some engagement. People who might be just like, oh, I haven't thought about my home insurance in a while. Let me see if I actually understand it. So that's that. Life insurance is also an easier one to do because you're kind of saying, okay, well, how old are you now? What is your current kind of, do you have any pre-existing conditions? And then you can kind of say, okay, well, if you have 4 kids and you're at this age and you have this pre-existing condition, then I don't know if you want to say your actuarial score probability of death at this time, but you can kind of say stuff around, this is kind of the risks that you want to kind of protect against for your family, and so this is how much it would cost for life insurance and how it would protect your family in the event of some unfortunate incident at these age ranges. And you can kind of say, this age, this is how much they would pay, stuff like that, to show them how life insurance actually plays in and the risks they have. Those are a few examples. Insurance is an easy one because there's so many, but those are a couple I would start with. Yeah. Any other companies or examples? Yeah.
You go, ready? Thanks. Hi, this is less with my current work, but my brother just opened a dental clinic here in the Houston area. So a lot of times with a dental clinic or any sort of healthcare, you have to call the clinic, right? You may need to find a little bit more information. And the community that he's really trying to reach is very small, right? It's maybe a certain radius around the clinic. So I'd love to know some ideas or examples that maybe you've worked with for specifically dental clinics in specific communities.
Yeah, cool. So there's 2 parts to that question. The first part is around the location, which is geolocation, and the second is around content you create for the audience. And so within dental, just actually, I had a couple more questions. Is he like orthodontics? Is he general dentistry? General dentistry, okay. So a lot of the services he's providing are going to be like cleaning services, X-rays. Does he do root canals and stuff like that? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. So that just gives us a sense of okay, what are the actual services he's doing and how who develop. So the first thing I would do there is kind of think through. There are people who specifically have an issue, right? Like I have extreme pain and I need a tooth removed. I need a root canal. And so you can have, for those types of people where they're kind of actually searching on Google for these issues, I would create content around the, how do you know if you actually need a root canal or should I go into a dentist? Those are questions that, people might have. And so you can kind of create a tool where you ask people, okay, what are your current symptoms? You can have a checklist like, pain or like whatever. So you can ask questions about symptoms. And then you can ask them, how long have you had these symptoms for? And then you can kind of say, maybe you can ask them to submit maybe a picture if there's something coming out or whatever. So you can ask them to take a picture. And then you can say, okay, well, based on what you said and how long you had to pay for, you probably need to do this X-ray, or you might need to do this, whatever service might be relevant to you, and kind of guide them through that. The key things, the key ways I would promote that piece of content, if it's more kind of bottom of the funnel, you can run it against the search, specific search keywords, and then you could also, so that would be for bottom of the funnel. Now for top of the funnel, I would create content just to educate people about dental hygiene, and just kind of create content where, okay, well, what can you do to improve the longevity of your teeth, or something like that. And in that case, that would be more top of the funnel and kind of relevant to a wide range of people. Then what I would do is I would do a geo-targeting campaign. So basically, listen, what you can do is you can say, I'm only going to target people in a certain mile radius from the office. You put the office address, you put a mile radius, and then you can run that ad, run that top of the funnel content to basically anyone in a certain age group. So you can say, well, I'm going to do, let's say, most of these patients are probably, let's say, 30 to 60, I don't know, I'm guessing. So you say, okay, 30 to 65 or 30, maybe even older, because older is fun. So say 30 to 80, and so then you do 30 to 80 within X miles from the office, depending on how comfortable people are, like how much people drive. And then you do a top of the funnel content around dental hygiene, dental best practices. What can you do to address whatever, like what can you do to better address your teeth health and stuff like that. And then that I would do for top of the funnel. Those are a couple ideas for dentists. Yeah. Other businesses or use cases. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rhett, and I work with Cable One. We sell internet, mainly focusing on internet, but we sell TV and phone products. We're available in around, I'd say, over 20 states easily. Just kind of wanted to get your idea and see what you thought, what we could do. Sure.
Yeah, and within TV, what's is it like sports, all cable? Or
Yeah, like just cable, like, package plans, like, ESPN, ABC, all that stuff.
And the internet is offers fiber? Is it high speed?
Fiber, yeah. There's a very few markets with broadband internet, but it's mainly fiber. Yes.
Fiber, so it's like 1 gigabyte or something.
Yeah.
And then you also do streaming, or is it just cable and internet?
Yeah.
Just
We
cable?
do some streaming. Yeah.
You do some streaming as well.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, and is your focus mainly on new customer acquisition, new retention, or?
Mainly getting new customers in our markets. We mainly focus on internet though.
Main focus on internet.
Yeah.
In terms of your competition, the competition isn't. I'm guessing most of them don't have 1 gigabit internet, right?
It depends on the market specifically. It's different per market.
Okay, cool. Just trying to get a sense of like the value prop, because then we can create content around kind of the key value that's kind of different.
Right.
So within that area, the way I kind of think through internet is going to be people are going to ask the most common questions are download and upload speed and cost. And the third might be reliability. The fourth might be like support. If there's an issue, are people responsive? So those are kind of the 4 key variables that people are looking at when it comes to internet. And so what I would do is I would ask them, most people either already have internet service, and so in that case, I would create content around seeing how much can you save or how much of a better experience would you have by switching. So I would create content around that, where you ask them, who do you currently have? What's your location? Okay, this is how much what's your speed? So that would help with speed. And then you can give them an estimate on how, what it would cost to switch to you. And then if there are certain contract requirements, I don't know if you guys have buyouts or something like that, you can mention that. And that I would do for the competition standpoint. The other category of people are people moving into Houston or whatever cities you cover. And in that case, I would create content around what people are, the questions people have when they move to a new city, right? Which would be like, where do I live? That stuff about like setting up internet, electricity, things like that. And then kind of things to do in the area. And so I create content around that for that type of audience. And you can target them differently. So for the competitive landscape where you're trying to compete, you can try to think through either, some companies will be like, oh, I found this list of our competitors, and then target that list and have an email campaign. That's a bit harder to do these days. So instead, I would try to just do you could do like a specific filter around, okay, well, these are the geographies we have like really good internet, or these are the areas, and just target those areas with the kind of competitive, your competitive calculator, which shows like, okay, this is how much you can save, this is how much better our support is, our average response time is, whatever, 2 hours compared to 8. You gotta show them a table of how you compare. And all you ask them basically is what tool they're currently using and what their speeds are. And then based on the tool, you can give them that. So I would do that to promote that first one.
Gotcha.
For the moving, you can look at a lot of like furniture companies and stuff like that could be possible partners because they're doing a lot of promotion to new movers.
Right.
So maybe doing things as a partnership there might be helpful with promoting the new mover content.
Right.
So
Like with apartments and stuff.
yeah, exactly. Even apartment building, because a lot of times the leasing agents are coming across people who are exploring or looking to move, and then if you already have your set of apartment buildings that your fiber runs into, so you kind of have that segmentation or targeting already kind of finalized, so you can kind of go after that.
Gotcha.
So those are a couple things
Gotcha.
that are useful about it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, sure. See how we're doing on time. All right, cool. Guys, I have maybe 2 more depending on how fast I talk. All right, someone here and someone on the left. All right, cool.
Hello. So I work with Mustang Cat. We do heavy equipment, sales and rentals. So we're eager to hear if you have any innovative suggestions for us.
I'm gonna have to ask a couple questions. So you do heavy equipment?
Machinery like rentals and sales.
Okay, and then can you give me a few examples of types of equipment?
Like excavators, that type of thing.
And then you're selling to who's like the most common person who's buying?
We do B2B and B2C, so.
Okay, and then what would be like the most common use case for B2B?
I guess like companies that need like full fleets of machinery for.
Full fleets of machinery. And
Yeah.
The most common use case for the machinery is?
Sorry
for all the questions. I'm just trying to understand the business because it's hard to recommend if I don't really understand.
It's very diverse. So just like commercial construction or that type of thing.
Commercial construction, so it's property construction or even?
Property, landscaping.
Okay. Yeah, okay, and then in B2B, so you're actually going after developers? Developers who buy B2B?
Mm-hmm.
And then in B2C, it's, what would be the type of?
Landscapers.
Okay, cool, all right, sorry for it. The other
No
ones,
problem.
I guess it's kind of clear. So, okay, so in this case, I think, let's just go through the B2B for the real estate developer standpoint. So, in the real estate development standpoint, when they're buying certain machinery for some sort of construction project, a lot of the times, the actual buyer, there's probably a procurement team in the company that's figuring out which machinery they need to buy, right? So you guys are selling kind of into the procurement department.
Correct.
And so the questions the procurement team are going to be asking are going to be, so the longevity of the machine, how long does it last? How much does it cost? How many do we need? And and sometimes they might not know the exact number they need based on the size of the construction project. So those might be the most common questions. Does that sound fair that the procurement team might have?
Yeah, it does.
And so then I would basically ask them, saying, okay, tell us a bit about the property you're looking to build. And so they might say, okay, well, we have like a 100-unit, multi-family apartment building that we're building. And then they say, how many square foot? So you say, well, this is the square footage. They this is the size of your apartment. And then when are you trying to build this? Okay, we're trying to build this in 8 months. And then, do you guys already have kind of budget finalized, or are you still in the quoting phase? Like, how far along the process are you in? And then you can say, okay, well, for the machinery component of this construction, we recommend buying 4 machines, and these machines will last you for X amount of time. I don't know if you do rental or share. You do both sets of yeah.
We do both, yeah.
Yeah, so you can say, well, this is how much it's gonna cost if you do rental, and this is how much you're gonna need. If you do sale, this is how much it's gonna cost, and this is how much you're gonna need. And then you can explain to them, saying, how many other projects do you have in the pipeline to get a sense of sales versus rental? Because that's gonna be a question they're not sure how to answer. So, well, okay, if you have 4 projects coming this year and 3 next year, then basically the rental cost is gonna cost you more for the 7, and you're left with no actual product at the end. Here, you use all 7, and then with it, even after depreciation, you're still getting upside on the sale. So you walk them through the sale versus rental decision, and you walk them through the pricing decision to help them with quoting. That would be the first thing I would start with. And then if you want to get really advanced, I don't know how many tools you have for specifically construction or for these types of buyers, is you can help them with like a quoting engine or a quoting tool. And so basically they can go in and you can plug, I don't know what quoting tools they use. Let's say they have some quoting software called like quotebigconstruction.com or something. So you can actually, if you have an API, you can expose your API to these quoting engines, and then the quoting engine will be able to auto place the numbers that they would need. This is kind of very deep into the weeds, but that's something that we've seen companies do, is where they build this kind of API, and that makes it much easier when you're quoting, because it's kind of auto populating data in real time with that number. That would be like more advanced and tech to do, but the other one's a bit easier to do because you just need to understand the construction part of that process. Other ideas for procurement, I would say that, the knowledge thing I said earlier might be relevant for procurement, but I don't know enough about the questions procurement people might have if they're higher up in the funnel and they're not actually in a construction project. I would go through those types of questions and try to see what are the types of things procurement people might have, and who are they consulting within their company when they make that decision, because they might not be making that decision alone, they might be consulting other people. So those would be a couple things, but that's a cool use case. It's a bit of a challenge.
Awesome, thank you.
Do we have time for one more, or are we done? Is it super quick? Okay, how quick is yours? Okay, let's go quick. You're gonna challenge my speed as talk. Let's see if I can go fast.
Hello, so I work for Cotton GDS. We are a B2B company, and we are also a global brand. We provide just day-to-day restoration and construction services, along with disaster recovery services for commercial properties.
Okay, so give you an example, like what type of commercial property?
Like healthcare, oh yeah, this hotel, industrial,
Okay.
retail,
And
medical.
the types of disaster services that they would need.
Any disaster, so like a hurricane or a winter storm or tornadoes, earthquake, everything.
And the service would be like something around, say, there's a hurricane and it's dealing with the people inside and dealing with the actual physical thing, or is it just the physical actual damage?
The damage of the
The
building.
damage to the building. Okay, cool. And this is the way the contracts work. Is it's part of like an insurance contract, or
Mhm.
kind of like an insurance contract?
Yes.
Okay, and so what I would do is a lot of these people they probably have the people who write the disaster recovery plans. I don't know what they're called, but that would be kind of the buyer, right? The person who's signing the contract with you guys would be the people who are creating disaster recovery plan. Or
Yeah, we do at different levels of like C-suite, also like building managers, facility management, engineers, insurance adjusters,
And
things
so
like that.
There's a wide range of different types
Mhm.
of buyers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like the hard one. It's a hard one, but it's a good one. So I would say in this case, if I would do different types of content for like building manager versus like a C-suite.
Right.
Because the building manager is going to be thinking through kind of speed and maybe specific details around what they're going to need in the event of an urgent situation. And then a C-suite might be looking at cost and then a multi-facility kind of situation where they're doing a suite deal. So let's kind of separate those out. I know it's talk really fast, so I'm going to try to speed it up. So if you have a C-suite, then I would say you can ask people, okay, how many buildings do you have? And then you can ask them, which locations are you in? And so you can say, okay, the risks, and then based on the location, you can have a preset probability of risk for each one. So like say, if you're in Florida, you have hurricane, or if you're in LA, it's earthquake, whatever it might be.
Right.
So you have a preset and probability of risk for each one, and then you can kind of guide them through, okay, well, across all these locations, across these risk profiles, these are the types of things you would do, the services you would need as part of the disaster recovery, and this is how much it would cost you for, let's say, I don't know how long your coverage is on, let's say 10 years, 100 properties, and you can give that to the C-suite. For the lower level people, where you're looking at facility building manager, you can talk about response times and specific details around what questions they would have. So maybe a building manager might be asking about, just getting electricity back to a property and kind of having a backup generator system, or I don't know, some stuff like that, like whatever the local people might have. So I would create content around speed of service and around the ability to get back up and running in each situation, and then guide them through like the execution phase. And then for people who are writing a disaster recovery plan, I would maybe actually create consultative content around, you're writing your disaster recovery plan. These are things you should take into consideration while you're writing up your disaster recovery plan. And these are the things that you should be thinking through, because that's kind of going to be a key part of, a disaster recovery plan. You're going to say, what's going to happen in this event? And so we'll contact GDS.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, and then this is how GDS will handle that situation. So stuff like that would be useful, and that would be a bit higher up the funnel, and then the actual like C-suite thing would be a bit more down the funnel content.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.